RPG by someone who didn't make RPGs, and it's there's enough frustrations to maybe turn you away, you know?
I feel like most of the people saying, "Oh, it's evolving and good things are coming," are like trying to look for a reason to really love it.
Or Bungie employees.
Because, yeah.
I've heard some other shows that just regular dudes that are just eating this up, and they're like, "Oh, and the best is yet to come, people."
Yeah, I feel like that's awful because I paid $60 for this fucking thing. It should be complete. I don't want to pay $60 for a game that will be good when I buy $30 more worth of DLC.
Right. Yeah, the guilt is coming off of Destiny for me. I'm starting to get a little disenchanted with it, especially now that I'm hearing that when I hit 20, that's kind of going to be it for me, because I'm not a Crucible player. I'm not going to enjoy that. It's not going to be awesome unless I'm playing with a bunch of people I know. I'm not going to just go in and play Crucible individually.
I mean, you can still go do the strike missions, and those are fairly fun.
Yeah, 3 people.
With people.
That's what sucks.
Yeah.
Yep. So, well, we'll see. I'm going to play a lot this week, I think.
I do feel like Destiny came at a really great time because there's nothing else really out.
No.
Well, yeah and no.
Like, in terms of, big AAA games, I mean, if you're a sports fan, you had a bunch of stuff. Like, FIFA came out and NHL came out. But if not, this was kind of the only big thing until Shadow of Mordor. And it's like, it had a couple weeks to itself. And, like, on one hand, I'm happy to get back to my PlayStation 4 and play it some, because I hadn't played it for a while through the summer. But I can't imagine what this would have been like if it launched in, like, November.
Oh, it would have been killed. There's too many other good games out. So, all right. So Destiny, still meh. Anything else that you played?
I played this indie horror game called The Last Door.
Oh, I've heard about it.
It's like a Lovecraftian point-and-click adventure that's really, really good.
It's Steam, right?
Yes.
Okay.
The only problem is that it doesn't say it, but it's essentially season 1 of a larger story. So it's 4 episodes, and I was expecting to get to the end of the story at the end of episode 4, but it didn't.
Aww.
And like, it's currently crowdfunding season 2. But like, if you're just looking for a good, very creepy type of game to play, for October, for Halloween, I'd highly recommend that. The graphics are like super, super basic. Like, when you think of pixel art, you think of something like Fez that's kind of detailed pixel art.
Right.
This is not that. This is like very crude, very simple pixel art, but it still manages to be pretty evocative. It's really impressive what it does. And thankfully, the point-and-clicking puzzles are not very tough, because whenever you go to a screen, because the graphics are so basic, there's not a whole lot on screen that you can click on. So it's always really obvious what you can pick up and what you can interact with.
I like that. In fact, that's a thing I have a problem with a lot of games, that when you can't see what you're supposed to be doing, that it seems like the graphics themselves, the game itself, is trying to deceive you.
Yeah. So yeah, I would recommend The Last Door to anyone looking for a creepy game.
I may pick that up.
Amnesia was. I have Amnesia for the PC there, and it was so dark, and you couldn't see anything. I was just like, I just kind of gave up. I kept running out of oil, and I didn't play it that long, but I was just like,
yeah, pass.
Yeah.
All right, well, anything else before we move on to news? But then again, we have 2 weeks worth of news to kind of cover, so we got a lot of news.
I played a couple of things.
Yeah.
Mostly the big three still tons of Diablo. That's been the go-to game. We play every night now. So if anybody wants to get on there, Gamer Goalie on PS4.
Yeah, in fact, we've had a number of people that have just joined us that are listeners, and we think, they always say, oh, we don't want to bother you. Bother us, especially when we're playing something like Diablo. Bother us. We love it.
Yep. I started a new cat with the Witch Doctor. I love. I finally got the big acid dump from the mouth on him. Oh, I love the acid dump. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, I'm on another run through, so I managed to upgrade my weapons to ridiculously high on this lower character, and I'm on like Torment 2, just mowing through it. It's awesome. So
I love playing through a second game exactly for that reason.
All the high gems. So when you get a weapon with a socket, you throw in a wicked marquee ruby or something, and that just does so much damage. You just start walking through everything. So it's been kind of fun playing with the different characters. We play every night. The wife plays every night. Barbara always plays with us. Sly in the chat room, he plays with us. Chaos jumps in and out with us. So I mean, in fact, sometimes we're full. On the weekends we'll be full. We got to kind of wait for a slot to open up. Playing tons of that. Playing more of the NHL 15, and I actually did a comparison between NHL 15 on PS4 and last year's NHL 14 on the Xbox 360. I loaded them both up and I played them side by side, and it's night and day playing on the PS4. Night and day. The only problem is, which I kind of mentioned 2 weeks ago on the Disrupted show with all the phone calls I was getting, the lack of modes, and that's what everybody's talking about. The lack of modes in NHL is what's killing it. And I did hear an interview on another show with one of the developers, and he says, well, you got to keep in mind that this is the glass half full view of it, is that we know you're all used to all these modes that weren't in the game, but he says, we had 7 to 8 years on the 360 to get it to that point. And it's been 1 year with the PS4 and the Xbox One. So he says, you got to give us some time to get everything up to speed, because we didn't do it in year 1 or year 2 on the 360. So he says, give us some time. Now, the bummer about that is, that the FIFA and the Madden are working flawlessly. So you can see that they're obviously putting in less resources on the hockey game than they are the other ones, which I guess is to be expected. But as far as gameplay goes, it's ridiculous. The gameplay is just ridiculous. And it's, even though there's more modes on the older one, it's just so hard to go back and play inferior game. And at the time, it was phenomenal. I loved it. But then you play the new one, you're like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen the new one. It looks incredible.
Yeah. So I'm trying to take the glass half full approach, is that, look, it's the first one coming out on the new consoles. In news, I'll get to some news on the NHL as far as updates on the NHL 15, but it just plays so nice. It just does a nice job, and even though it was fun going back on the Xbox 360 version from last year and creating a team, and I created a brand new team with my own logo. I didn't upload a logo, but you have logos you can choose from, and you can change all the equipment on your players. So like I had the goalie, like everything was yellow: pads, gloves, helmet. He looked like a marshmallow peep. He was so yellow. But that's the stuff you can do, and that's what's missing in the new ones. You couldn't create your own team and draft your own players and dress them all up in crazy colors. But then again, you do that. You create a team and you have all the crazy colors, and what are you going to do with it? Play a game or two? Right. So it's like, kind of looks like, well, yeah, even though that was hilariously fun doing that, the staying power of that particular mode didn't have it. So I guess I'd rather have good gameplay than all the bells and whistles. And I got, like I say, in news, I have an NHL update. I also played Madden. I'm getting into that again, the Madden football, which I've had for a month or two now, and I'm finally finding time to play it. Boy, that is such a good game, and boy, did they really put a lot of time to polish that up. Mm-hmm. And they made it so you can just customize the game to such a point where it just fits. I was winning 21-0, 28-0. And I was like, okay, I got to change the difficulty. But then I couldn't even get a first down. So then you just play with some of the sliders. Like, remember the MLB The Show? I talked about that baseball game. Right. How I played with the sliders and I found the sweet spot and I was having a blast. That's what I did with Madden. Is that I found the skill level. I adjusted the sliders. I'm still playing with it, but I adjusted the sliders. And I won a game the other day. I was the Cincinnati Bengals playing the Pittsburgh Steelers in the snow. I think I posted a picture on GameHounds in the snow. Mm-hmm. It was I think I won 3-0 or 6-0. It was really close. I was like, this is it. don't touch it, leave it alone. This is the sweet spot.
Right.
I can make a first down, but I'm not running over the team. And just the graphics, the highlights, the replays, it's just everything about Madden is just really, really good. And so I played some Madden, and then I hooked up the second screen smart glass with the iPad for Madden.
Mm-hmm.
You guys done that with the PlayStation?
No.
Yeah, so you download the PlayStation app for the iPad, and you click on the button that says second screen. And if there's games that offer a second screen, that calls up on the iPad. So what Madden did is that, you come to the line of scrimmage, the play ends, and all these stats come up on your iPad. And it shows you what this team normally does on second down, and what situation it is, and what play. I mean, it's hard because there's so much data. It's like I'm going to have a delay of game penalty here, but if I look at all this data, but if you're an information junkie when it comes to that stuff, the second screen adds all these stats, and you can even tap on the screen and pick your play. It was kind of neat. So you have on screen, it shows you some suggestions, but then it shows you, hey, this is what they're running, and this and that and the other thing, and you can say, oh, I want this one, tap, and they go to the line of scrimmage and then run that play. So I tried the second screen glass on Madden, which I think was only on Xbox and Xbox One for a while, but now it finally came to PlayStation. Worked pretty good. It's really hard because there's so much data to look at, and you have to get the play in, at a certain point. So I suppose you could pause the game and look at everything if you really wanted to. But it really does put you in the coach's role as far as, what all these different facts and figures, what they run on second down, what they run on third and long, and try to plan out your defense. And, I was starting to get it because I was like, okay, on third down and long, this team usually runs 5 wide receivers. Mm-hmm. We suggest, a nickel, defense. So I was like, okay, I'll put in the nickel defense or something like that. So it worked good. And at the top of the screen, it was 1 second behind, I noticed, because it had the scoreboard on the TV and on the thing below, and I noticed that it was like if it was 1:01 and then 1 minute and 59. When I looked at the iPad, it was 1 second different.
Okay, so that's a little bit of a delay. Close enough.
But it didn't matter though, because it actually the iPad refreshed quicker than the screen. So the play would run. I looked down the iPad, and it would already calculate. Okay, it's 2nd and 7 before my TV did it, because the TV was running the replay. Mm-hmm. So I could look down at the iPad while the replay was going, and get some of the information in. So if you're a Madden fan and you have an iPad, it probably works with Android, I would imagine too, if they have an app. Check out the second screen for the PlayStation, and I'm interested to know what other games offer the second screen aside from Madden. That's the only one that I've tried. So I suppose we could do a Google search on that, and see what other games work with that.
Get on it.
Get on it, chat room. Do the Google search while we're sitting here. What? And maybe we'll have Nick do that. Nick, Google that. What PlayStation 4 games offer the second screen?
Okay.
And while you're doing that, do you want to move on to the news?
Yeah.
All right, let's hit the news. This is the GameHounds News, the news, and commentary of the week in gaming with Gamer 80, Holy Goalie, Nick DiNicola. And our first item is, and I'm going to go. Do you have something, Goalie? Because otherwise I got stuff.
Yeah, I can just run this real quick. Continuing my NHL 15 talk here. Free content update number 1 was released yesterday, and I picked it up. So what they're doing is they said they ran out of time. They made them get NHL 15 out on time. And they said, okay, but we're going to be missing all this content. So they released it. They got a firestorm. They're getting bad reviews because of all this. Well, they come out with their first update, which was yesterday, the 23rd. Now, can you imagine if they had delayed this game just a couple of weeks to put all this content in? They probably would have caught hell for the delay, but would have had all this stuff in it. So what they added is they added the playoff mode, meaning that you pick 16 teams from any of the leagues, and you set up and you play basically the Stanley Cup playoffs with these teams. That wasn't in there. So they've added the playoff mode, which I like, because I usually don't play an entire 80-game season when I sit down and play. I'll play a quick game or a custom game, or sometimes I will sit down and play a playoff mode. You can do that in a night or maybe 2 nights. So they've added playoff mode, so that's good. That cross that off the list. They've added that. The other thing they added is if you're playing the Be a Pro mode, what happens is you play a shift, and then you go to the bench and you sit and you watch the game being played.
Oh.
Okay, which is really neat because it feels like you're being a pro because you don't play the entire game.
Right.
ever. You can set up to play, but if you want to quote be the pro, just like you are in Madden and just like you are in the other games, you're not on the court or the ice the entire time. You're actually sitting on the bench for some of it. So they've added what's called coach feedback, which they didn't have. So if when you come to the bench, a coach tells you what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, and the idea is listen to him, do more what he's saying to get better feedback, and then you get more stats and you can upgrade your play a little bit better. Mm-hmm. So they added that. Some people were actually bitching about sitting on the bench